Who is your favorite ranker and why?
We already have Isaiah's answer.
It's Yuri.
AOA, that's a triple play. New episodes, I couldn't wait. Yeah, open your mind at the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. AOA, check me out. Look, clocked in, you can catch the hype. Golden Dawn, how we follow the light. Anime like life, married to it, my wife.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages? Welcome back to the AOA show. I'm your host, as always, Ian, along with the boy Isaiah.
Yo, yo, yo.
And today, we have something pretty special for y'all. For anyone who celebrates Christmas, Merry Christmas, this is your present. We have, for all of our Tower of God fans, a continuation, a part 2 of the questions and answers that we do on Tuesdays normally. Right. So a lot of you have been saying in the comments, you say, damn, it really sucks that you guys are only able to get to X amount of questions, 7 questions, because there's so many more things I would like to hear your opinions on. And quite frankly, just because of the time constraints that we have, Sundays are an incredibly packed day. We're here from literally sunrise to sun beyond sunset to almost midnight, just going through that day. And it's one of the only days that we have Gavin, for full disclosure, for anyone that's wondering. So you know, we're limited to being able to only answer questions that allot us the time to do so, and having Gavin involved as well. But because so many of you guys have been requesting it, we thought, why would we not give this to the people that want it? They're talking to us, they're asking us. So Isaiah and I came to the conclusion that we would come together, and on Fridays, until further notice, we're going to be releasing the part 2s of these videos. So provided that we get enough questions to talk about, Isaiah and I will take the questions that did not make it into the top 7 category and just expound our thoughts on those questions amongst us too.
And so, if you are not somebody who requested this, this present's not for you. It's very geared towards a certain section of people.
But if you haven't watched Tower of God yet or read it, definitely should. Fantastic story. So then you could join in on this conversation. You understand what the hell we're talking about and have a good time with it. Because some damn good storytelling. But anyway, so we're going to get into the questions. This week we didn't have a plethora, like a crazy amount of questions beyond the 7 that we covered. I think we have 9 additional in total. And some of them are way shorter than the ones that got the most upvotes. And it's just 2 of us. So hopefully we'll be able to get through this a little quicker than the norm. So we'll get to it. So the first one we have is from the Fire Potato. Thank you for the question. Says, what do you think about Garam and Urek's relationship? Love this question already. Was Garam being too harsh on Urek? Is there something else to it from her side of the story? Should we rename the story to Tower of Simps? These are all fantastic questions. I think the relationship is comical. I wouldn't say adorable, because Garam doesn't really seem to be about it at all. So it kind of seems like a one-sided deal. And it is hilarious. We went in detail on this in our discussion on Tuesday, talking about, is Urek a simp? Is he a Chad? All that kind of stuff. And he's in love, man. He really is in love with that girl. You can see it because he's like, from the text or whatever, girl A, girl B or whatever, like he doesn't treat those ladies like Garam is the one that he's going after. So do I hope it could be a thing? Yeah, because they would have some boss kids, first of all. And Garam seems really cool. Urek's the man. So it seems like a great relationship all around. If it works out. But if it doesn't and Garam wants to do something else, so be it. Seems like Bomb is just stealing every woman in this tower anyway, so no one's allowed to have a relationship except for Bomb at this point. Little selfish. No, just playing. Anyway, it says, was Garam being too harsh on Urek? Yeah, I think at first she was a little harsh because he was like, hey, I like you. And she's like, ew, you know what I mean? Like she went to the automatic, making him feel like total crap, which I don't think you want to do that. You want to let him down easy. But I mean, after he asked for the 3rd time and she still did that, fair enough. He's being persistent. But at that point, if she does lay it on him like that, he can't really expect much else. So fair enough. I think she should lighten up on him a little bit though, because I want this to happen. It needs to be canon. So, and then going from there, is there something else to it from her side of the story? Should we rename the story to Tower of Simps? Absolutely, we should rename the story to Tower of Simps. And is there something else to it from her side of the story? Yeah, I don't think it's like some big elaborate thing. I just think that Urek is kind of a big child in certain aspects, and Garam's I don't really, you know what I mean? Like, you're kind of reckless and
need a
rash,
man.
and like, I don't know, yeah, what her deal is, you know. And then when he just gave the power to Hell Joe and like, have it, kid, and
Yeah,
she's
that
like,
probably didn't
that's
help.
it, you know what I mean? Like, you were just the most irresponsible guy, blah blah blah. You know, it's like he's one of those guys. He's just got too many things going on in his mind. He might not even know if he really loves her once they get together, right? If they do, right? He's like, I have these
Oh my
goals of getting
God, that
outside
would
the
suck.
tower. Dude, it happens. Sometimes you think that you're like madly in love with a person, and then, you know, you find out you're with them, and then you're like, maybe I didn't. And it's like, Garam seems like just more mature than him.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my thoughts. I don't know if you had any.
All right. So this question: what do I think of their relationship? Right now, I think it's funny because, like, it, you know, obviously a lot of it's being played for comedy because we're getting basically Urek's side, which is very much like, yo, I love Garam. Like, she's the best. She's incredibly beautiful and she's super strong or whatever. But we don't really know, aside from the very explosive, I guess, thoughts and comments that she's made about Urek, what she thinks of Urek or why she thinks that way of Urek, because she's not just like, Urek's whatever, it's just not my type, or I don't prefer. Like, she seems to have very, like, almost visceral, like, get the actual fuck away from me. So I'm like, okay, something had to have happened, or even if it's just down to like a miscommunication thing, like somebody told you something about him that like you think is his deal. I would buy the whole, and going to the next part of this question, I would buy the whole Urek is just not like grown up enough for her, because again, and this is something we picked up on with Garam right out the gate, is she seems very above the usual BS of the tower here. She seems very above, like, I'm not getting into these fucking petty dramas with these princesses. I'm trying to find out what's actually going on here. I'm trying to actually make things different and change things for the better. So she seems, in that sense, to be actually like a very good judge of character, and because of that, she seems to be somebody that can weed those things out pretty quickly. So I think in their initial interactions, like when Urek came up, she was like, I don't like, no, this guy's clearly, you know, he's like, I think that what the kind of relationship that Garam might want and the kind of relationship that Urek might want right now aren't the same thing, and that's why they're clashing. So, you know, whether that involves them coming to some sort of compromise, or maybe just like finding out, and I don't know, it kind of feels weird, to be honest, because in getting into the next part of this question, I do think there is more on her side of the story. There has to be, because I feel like, again, the visceralness of her reaction to Urek is not just like, he's just not my type, he's not for me. Like, that's like something, they got history. Something happened where and granted, the fact that she's been on the floor of death for so long now, and that Hell Joe has been giving her and subsequently the rest of the floor of death such a hard time, it won't help if she finds out that Urek is, you know, indirectly responsible for that, which is why, you know, he was trying he didn't want that to be a thing. But so I don't know. But aside from that, there has to be like something else that they went through, or maybe they were in a relationship previously and like it broke off because of, you know, I don't know. But there has to be more to that story. There has to be more to her side of the story. And I'm just curious to know what's going on with that, because like Urek is obviously one of the best characters in this story, but I will say personally, he didn't become like one of my favorites until these chapters, because these really do a lot to humanize him, and in an element like this where it's like, dude, you can have all the power you want, but like some people just aren't lucky when it comes to this shit, you know what I mean? And like to take a character like Urek, you know, and do it, it really works. So I do like the relationship, and yeah, we can call Tower Sims. That's cool. All right, so next question we have here is from Kenshi. He says, thoughts on Hell Joe? Would you say he is currently the strongest regular, or is there anything that will disqualify him from that rank? My thoughts on Hell Joe, I really like him. I think so. Funny enough, we read the and by now this video will have already been out, the blog post for these chapters that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And in those blog posts, SIU talks about the fact that his initial intent actually with Hell Joe might have been to sort of like really shoehorn in the quote unquote seriousness of his character and like what makes him a legitimate threat and or villain early on. But that ultimately he didn't feel like that was the preferred or the best route. And so he sort of like led in with the very comical, the very, you know, over the top dramatic aspects of Hell Joe's character, which makes him come off as sort of this, you know, secondary, like, you know, kind of just a nuisance villain and not really like a main, like Karaka level villain. So initially, that's what I thought. I was like, all right, this guy is just like, he's just another guy trying to get a slice of this I'm the shit pie here. And like he, either won't be able to or whatever. But then when he has his plan, and of course when he opens up with the red Thrissera, he immediately becomes much more of an established villain. And once we subsequently start learning a little bit more about his backstory, as far as his origins in the Floor of Death, like where he started, what he knows, and what he has access to, because effectively he controls a lot of the Floor of Death, whether it be like the literal Shinsu on the Floor of Death, or whether it be, all the people there. He literally has built like this, out of fear, but like army of servants. So I definitely think he's gonna be a formidable foe. Like I said this in the blog post, but definitely our discussion that went out. I do think that power of his, the red Thrissera, is not like his. We know because Urek said it. But I think that is actually going to end up going to Bomb. I don't know how, because I don't really know how it works, really. But that's just off of theories that I have about. I think the blue monster or whatever in Bomb already is related to that. Really just I don't know. I'm getting a feel. So I'm curious to see. I guess what I'm getting at with that is what Helljo is removed from that, because that literally seems to be his main thing right now. Is he's like, I got this thing. He's got, and it's literally consumed him and whatever. So I'm curious how he stacks without that, and if he's going to be a main, maybe not main, but a presence or somewhat of a relevant presence after the fact. Because I do think that there is redemption in a character like this, because he doesn't seem he's not super hell bent on again, the white or Karaka thing, where it's no, I just want to kill everybody and destroy everything because I want everything to burn and I want to be on top of the fire. He just kind of seems weirdly enough, he's trying to have a good time but just in a more chaotic, evil way. So I think if he, Urek or whoever slaps him around a little bit, he could come to his senses. Do I think would you say he's currently the strongest regular, or is there anything that would disqualify him from the I would say, which mirrors into what I just said, I wouldn't say he's the strongest regular until I see him fight without the red Thrissera, because I think the red Thrissera is his main power boost right now, and I don't know how to accurately, especially as a regular, judge his skill without it, because we've never seen him fight at all. So I wonder, so I guess that's what I was getting at too at the beginning of this question, is I wonder what Helljo looks like as Helljo without that. Then I think I would at least be able to more accurately discern where he stands amongst the regulars, because right now, at least of the regulars we know, we got Sachi up here, and everybody else trickles down from that. I don't know if I could really accurately place him, to be honest. I would say the red Thrissera, at least in my opinion, does disqualify him from that rank, because again, I think it's a little bit of a, it's like saying Bam is so super the strongest because of the Thorn. It's okay, well, that's an added bonus. You know what I mean? Not Bam's obviously super strong, but the Thorn makes him stronger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my thing.
Yeah, I think it's contextual upon whether you're on the Floor of Death or you're anywhere else for me. Because I do think there's something to be said, regardless of the item you have, it's oh, well, you wouldn't be that strong if you don't have the item, but the fact remains you have the item, right? So for me, it's unless you lose that, you're going to be the strongest until you do. But the thing is, with this floor in particular, he seems to have a really big control over it, not to mention that the administrator part that is within him is the administrator that died on this floor. So there are probably other possibilities for us to see much stronger regulars as we go. I think right now, where we are exactly in this story, he's definitely up there. But yeah, I think as we go forward, he might not be the strongest anymore, especially once we get out of this floor. What are my thoughts on him, too? I've said it before. I love this guy, actually. At first, I was okay, this guy's kind of a bit of a gag character, but I've said it a million times. He reminds me something straight out of Borderlands, and I love that franchise and series. So he just looks like a character straight out of there that would have some crazy line, and there's just the close up, and then you're fighting this ridiculous boss. He's just nutty, man. I like him a lot. I think he's really cool. But I guess moving on to the next question here. Actually, Piper wasn't on the initial one, right? The one above it. Yeah. So I'll read that one. So from Piper 5, thank you for the question, Piper. says, if Hwaryun had to pick between Bomb's destiny / goal and him having his humanity and or what's good for him or for him as a person, what do you think she'd pick? I'm going to break this down one at a time. I'll get into the next part of the question after I answer this because it's a big one. If she had to pick between his destiny goal and having his humanity and what is good for him as a person, I think right now we're still in the destiny goal camp. I think this is an interesting play with Hwaryun as a character because I think this is something that maybe she doesn't struggle with per se, but that is definitely an ongoing question within the confines of her character as we go. Because when we first see her, it's you got whenever she's putting up a front, or maybe she's always like, you got to complete this goal. You got to be my God. You got to do this. But then we always see these like trickles of her actually giving a damn, and it's like, okay, if you were that curious, right? You're letting him keep his teammates when you really didn't have to. You got a whole organization that's ready to back him with the most powerful teammates ever. Not that this team's bad, but you get my point. She, is teaching him how to do certain things. Like she says that she cares for him. Like there are like this little bread, breadcrumb trail. Sorry, this little trail of crumbs rather, leading to the fact that she actually does give a damn. And I think right now, though, I think if she had to choose, like gun to her head, it's I think that his goal is or the goal destiny might be more important. I don't know. That's my guess. I really don't know, but I think as the story goes, I wouldn't be surprised if that inevitably seeps into the other option. So that's where I am at the moment. Second part of the question says, keep in mind, the leading the witness, Your Honor. Keep in mind that the Hell Train arc, she also thought when Kun was being a bit stubborn that Bomb was easier to control. Do you think she's still operating on the mindset? Oh, okay. So I kind of answered it within the first one. I don't know if you have thoughts.
So, so which one do I think she'd pick? So obviously, like, I would want her to, I'm personally, I guess, like in the camp of keeping Bomb's humanity. So just the fact that I can't definitively say she would pick that already like puts her in a weird gray area for me. But I don't know. I because I could see her still being, like, let's say if we made just like a ratio thing, right? Like 70% in the Destiny goal camp and 30% in the in the humanity camp. But like I don't know, because the second part of this does bring up a good point, is that she does especially look at, like, when the way she talks about when Kun is being stubborn, like, oh, Bomb's so much easier to control. But again, I think I think even in saying that, that's in the perspective of like, that's more of like a character thing, right? Because even if it wasn't about leading Bomb to his destiny or whatever, like, generally speaking about those characters, you could probably get Bomb to do something a lot easier than Kun. Kun will fight, like, if he does not vibe, he will fight and question you on every aspect of what you tell him to do until you're like, all right, whatever, I'm just going to go, whatever. I'm sorry I asked. Where Bomb is like, you asked nice enough, and he'll probably at least, he'll consider it or whatever. And plus their history, I do think as muddied up, I guess, as their history is, Hwaryun and Bomb's, like, Bomb does have enough of, an allegiance, a respect for Hwaryun that, like, if she would have requested something of him, he would, just on the grounds of being companions, hear her out. Which I do think is dangerous, because if she is still in the Destiny goal camp, that could all be like long con game stuff to be like, all right, Bomb, now betray your comrades and let's go do this thing, or whatever. I don't know. I think, we actually had a very long talk about Hwaryun's character the other day, and I've ended in this spot that, like, this woman just confuses the fuck out of me, because I don't know where she stands ever, and the main reason is because her character requires you to have faith in her, that the decisions that she's making and the things she's saying and the things that she wants are either the right thing or that they are going to work out for everybody. But at least to me, that doesn't make any sense, or doesn't make enough sense for me to be like, all right, I trust you. Because like we said, there's a little bit of bias in it for me, because I'm not just concerned about Bam's well-being. I'm concerned about the whole team. So the fact that she's not automatically puts us at odds, where it's like, wait, I wouldn't, like, don't fuck with anybody here. But that aside, I think, like, ultimately what I'm getting at is that I do think that Hwaryun is still a bit more in the Destiny goal camp. I do think, though, in the way of, like, sort of the classic, like, shonen protagonist persuades you, Bomb will end up influencing her and will end up like just the the love and respect that he has for his companions will rub off on her to the point where she might abandon. Because the other line that I think is very important to her changing in her character is that when after the the whole thing with Bomb and Joaquin's fight when they're playing the game to go save the hostages, and they're like sort of recollecting with Yuri and Evan and everybody, Hwaryun makes a statement that's, I'm paraphrasing, but something along the lines of like, yeah, Bomb is different than anybody that I've ever encountered because he's pushing and forging his own path. It's a path that like is not predestined because he's making it himself. And like as his guide, she's here to help him see it through. So that if that path that Bomb is now forging ahead implies her to change to be with him, I think given enough time, that might be a decision she's willing to make. But also it implies that she understands and maybe is not as focused on like, okay, Bomb, do what I say because I'm the guide and I'm telling you what's right and where to go, rather than it seems like, at least, maybe I'm just reading too much in that line, but like that she's willing to acknowledge the fact that like Bomb might know or in this new path he's forged, she might have to ultimately leave this to Bomb. So whatever he decides is best regardless what she sees. So like I said, I think we're in like a 70-30, 60-40 area, but I do think it will ultimately change.
All right. So I think you got the next one, right?
Yes. So the next one, so that would be from Kenshi, which is...
Look at you go, Kenshi.
He says, okay, so this would have been better last stream, but I think the spell is important. Why introduce a possible new power system? Is it to counter Bam's Shinsu resistance, or maybe his copy ability, since spells need certain conditions to be met? Most importantly, now that Yuri has experienced going berserk / possesses being possessed, do you think she will ever ignite both weapons again? Will she gain spell resistance from this? Is it possible to gain spell resistance? And lastly, do you think the Black March showed herself to Yuri only because she sensed the other 13th month series and would not have otherwise? So...
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is. So, yeah, backtracking here.
Ask your question. 5 questions.
Your Honor, here's my 5-page report. All right, so breaking this down, why introduce a new power system? What is up with these spells? I think, to be honest, it is a very smart move. I think if we were to just sort of run the gambit here of this story with, like, people who use Shinsu and not using Shinsu, it gets a little predictable and it gets a little plain. I think spells are an interesting, third variable party here to break that up and introduce, either different mechanics, different outcomes, different obstacles for these characters to overcome isn't as simple as like, just hit it with Shinsu or hit it with your fist. So yeah, I think that's probably why he would have done it, in my guess, and I think it's a good idea. Is it maybe to copy his abilities, since spells need certain conditions to be met. And again, because spells, if you think about it like a triangle, right, where like, this isn't the only thing in Tower of God, but like you've got physical abilities, Shinsu abilities, and spells. Like it works in that they all, there's pros and cons to using one over the other at any time. So like spells have their own conditions, physical attacks do, and Shinsu attacks do. Most importantly, now that Yuri has experienced going berserk, being possessed, do you think she'll ever ignite both weapons again? I do. So I am in the camp that I still don't really know. At least for me, the jury's not out yet on like the specifics of the situation they were in, because I said this in the most recent discussion, where like I can see the side of like if Yuri ignited both the weapons out of just sheer recklessness, in the sense that like she wanted to show off or she wanted to appear better than the other princesses, then like that's just the stupid side of reckless, and like doesn't make sense because you're forfeiting the ratio here of what's up for grabs is like people's lives over people's lives, right? So it's like either way you're playing with dangerous fire, where it's like if it was out of desperation, meaning like they didn't think that igniting one weapon was going to be enough to beat Heljo with the Red Thessera, then in my mind I'm like, again, not justifying or not acceptable, but I see the sense where it's like if I don't ignite these weapons, like we're not gonna have a real shot at beating him. So it's like where the cost is you could hurt these people, but the downside of not doing it is you all die anyway. So it's like, take your pick. But regardless of that, like I said, also in the discussion, I do think that Yuri is going to become aware of what happened here, via Evan or somebody else, and that whether she like makes a vow or decides not to do it again, I do think she'll be in a circumstance where she will have to do it again. And I personally would like to see her like straight like overcome it and like, be able to control it and take possession of it. But just as a way to play with the stakes, like that's such an interesting thing where it's like, all right, we've established, again, this isn't something that's uncommon where it's like you see shows do this with a character. We're like, all right, you got the super dope technique, but you can only use it for 3 minutes. Like if you exceed that, you're going, and it's like, okay, then I just won't use it. Then X character gets put in a situation where they have to break that barrier. So I that's sort of what I see this as, is that like this is an obstacle that like Yuri could potentially break through and could overcome, in which case that'd be dope because then it makes her the only princess to successfully wield 2 of the 13th month series weapons, which is not a thing. So yeah, I again, whether it's by her own design or by circumstances that are out of her control, I do think she will end up igniting both weapons again at some point. Will she gain spell resistance, or will she gain a spell resistance from this? That's the other caveat here. Is again, introducing spells means that maybe it's not even necessarily 100% up to Yuri. If she simply acquires or learns a spell that gives her resistance to the spirits of the 13th month series, then theoretically she's good in that front. Although, to what extent, I don't know. But, again, introducing spells gives us that caveat now. It opens up that window. And lastly, do you think the Black March showed herself to Yuri because she sensed the other 13th month series, and would she not have otherwise? I don't know, actually, because there's and again, I'm going to have to paraphrase, and I'm sorry if I'm getting this line wrong, but I remember... I think it's the Black March who's when they are awakened says like, oh no, you know what, it's the line to Heljo, I think, where she says, you're not the king that I was waiting for. But I guess the point I'm getting at is I think that the weapons, I don't know if the Black March necessarily awoke specifically because the Green April was also there, because I don't know, the way that they like interact, it didn't seem very like, Green April, thank God you're here, you know what I mean? It seemed very like, oh, what's up, Green April? Like another one of the 13th month series. But you know what I mean? It didn't seem like, and we know, at least from what we've gathered so far, that the Black March actually seems to have an affinity towards men. So I don't know if that's, if the other month series spirits are exceptions to that rule. Maybe they are. But I don't know. I think, to be honest, I think the Black March just thought that that there was a presence that reminded her of the true king. And that's what caused her to awaken. That's my 2 cents.
All right. Yeah. I honestly, I won't go too hard into it because I really mirror a lot of your points. So I don't want to beat a dead horse here. But I will comment on the introduction of spells. I do think, as you were saying, that it is a necessity to incorporate this into the story for the reasons that you had mentioned initially, and how this affects certain characters. If it's a new obstacle they have to overcome or master or whatever, it's going to be a new thing that needs to be added to their arsenal in order, especially, I would say Bomb especially, or at least to be able to know how to defend against in order for him to make it to the next stage. Because, where he is stacked up against people that should be at his level, what he has rocking right now is like kind of insane. To be honest, I think the only reason we see Bomb in potential danger a lot of times is because the enemies that they're facing are like 8 levels higher than they are out of necessity, because his story is a little bit different. But if it was like anyone normally at his level, it's like, there's no chance. So I do think it is a good thing that they introduced that. And like I said, I mirror a lot of the points that Isaiah said before. I'll let him go in on the Yuri questions. So our next question comes from Big Dumbass. I'll never not laugh at that. He actually has like 3 in a row, so look at you go. I'll read the first one. It says, it was mentioned that no one who has their soul in the spirit room with all the souls, is able to leave the floor of death. Why do you think there is a limitation, and how can it be overcome? How will Heljo fulfill his wish of leaving the floor, or will he be able to? It is said that stronger spells override weaker spells, so will the 13 months be enough? So I think the last part of that question is like kind of answered within the last one, so I'm not going to go too hard on that. But it says that people can't leave the room of death, or the floor of death rather, without their soul. Why do you think there's a limitation, and how can it be overcome? It's a big deal to go there, man. Like this has been touted as probably the most important floor that we've ever been to, and might still be the most important floor all the way up until we get to the last one. You know, we never know where the story's going to go because we're not caught up, but this is a floor that has weird exceptions and boundaries and all that kind of stuff. And why do I think I could try and reason, but like, who am I, a mortal man, to try and reason, you know, that room, that floor of the tower and why you need a soul, etc. You know, they kind of explain it a little bit, if I'm not mistaken, where it's like there is a, you know, it's like the people want to leave, but there was like, I'm going to butcher this. Help me out here, Isaiah, where it was like some sort of contract where the soul thing, where it's like it keeps them immortal, but they can't leave, is like, so they stopped coming out of there. Do you remember this part of the story?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something along those lines.
Yeah.
I'm probably butchering it, but like there's a reason they state it within the story why there's that contract to it, because it was like they needed to keep them there for whatever reason. So it's like, sure, you can live forever, but like you don't have a soul. So I think within the story, it kind of answers its own question, although I'm butchering the living hell out of it, so I do apologize. But it says, how will Hell Joe fulfill his wish of leaving the floor, or will he be able to? I think there's maybe a couple routes that he could go, potentially invoking upon the witches, or the guides would be one of them, because they seem to just have a backdoor escape route to every single rule or a loophole. So that could be one of them. It could be that he somehow is able to steal the soul of someone else. That's not out of the realm of possibility within this, especially if everyone bows to his will. The people who collect the souls answer to some of the higher ups. So, I think there are a couple ways in which he can leave. And do I think, he's going to be able to? I don't know. Depends on where SIU wants to go with the story. If he wants to keep Hell Joe as the main villain for a while, but something's telling me that's not going to be the case. That's my prediction. Could be dead wrong. Just kind of talking out of thin air here. So my prediction is no. I don't think that he's going to make it out of the floor of death. So what do you got to say?
So I think, why, what's the deal with the souls and the spirit room and like having one being on the floor of death? I think, to be honest, it's more of like a barrier of entry and like exit kind of thing, where it's like, again, I believe in the story, it references the fact that like in order for you to go in, you need to give up your soul, like essentially as collateral, right? And so it's like because I'm assuming that if we had the whole situation that went down with Joaquin and Bomb, right, where forgetting her name, but I believe it's like Alfido, the female that's like White's older sister, or Joaquin's older sister.
Close enough.
Yeah, the one that gives Bomb, all the souls of the people that Joaquin killed. What I'm getting at with that is I believe there is a way to transfer and increase one's power via collecting souls. That souls essentially, like literally, if you think about like a video game, like work as a currency of power and can literally amplify somebody's power and subsequent spirit if you have more than them, which we know was the deal for Bomb, because it's how he beat Joaquin in that, that fight and that encounter they had. So to prevent somebody from just rolling up in there with already a soul. But I guess what I'm getting at is I believe you have to have a soul in order to collect more souls. So like you can't just walk in there with 0 souls and then walk out with 100 souls. So I believe that collateral system is put in place to be like, yeah, you can go in the spirit room. I'm going to need your soul though, because I don't want you trying any funny backward shit. And so with that, will Hell Joe be able to, leave the floor? Again, I kind of like, am in line with Ian, where it's like if SIU wants to do the thing where Hell Joe is going to be a much more, or not much more, but a relevant threat past the floor of death, then yeah, I'm sure there will be some way for him to get out of it, because he's going to need to get out of the floor of death if all of our heroes and other characters get out of the floor of death in order to pursue them or just be in the story later. If not, if he just wants to make Hell Joe a presence for the floor of death arc, then I could see him not leaving and just sort of, chilling on the floor of death. Maybe, through the altercations that we're going to see him have with Urek, he maybe remembers his humble beginnings, so to speak, and his origins and like what it was he was doing on the floor of death, and maybe he then is going to want to change it for the better. I don't know. But I could see it going both ways, to be honest, and we don't really know enough about the stipulations of the whole soul contract thing for me to make a definitive pick one of those. So I would say it could go either way.
All right, cool. So
yeah, so I'll read
next one's him again.
So he says, why do you think Bam is able to control Shinsu in an area where no one else can? Do you think the Thorn is something related to the administrators, especially when considering it's from the outside of the tower with Enryu? Do you think it's just Bam and that the thing inside him we saw in the rice pot (parentheses the blue monster)? So why do I think Bam is able to control Shinsu in an area where no one else can? Yes, I do think the Thorn gives him that ability to sort of tap into Shinsu, regardless of the rules of the administrator, because I believe that along with being a irregular, gives him the ability to do that, right? We know that like irregulars are sort of defined as being people outside the conventions of the tower, right? They don't have to abide by the rules of the tower. And if the rules of the tower state something like, for an administrator on each floor, you are bound by their rules, right? Like you have to make a contract, and they can't use, and if they permit you or permit you of not using Shinsu, then you can't. I mean, for at least in my headcanon, that's how Enryu was able to pose such a threat to the administrator on the floor of death, is that even if the administrator was like, you're not using Shinsu, he's like, oh, I'm Enryu. I'm sorry. Maybe you didn't hear. Like, I don't give a fuck, and like just went at him anyway. So I do think that like, again, in relating the Thorn to Enryu, that like, it is literally like having, albeit a small piece of Enryu with him. And so it's like, yeah, Bam, it allows Bam to not be held up by the same restrictions that everybody else is. Do you think the Thorn is something related to the administrators, especially when considering it's from the outside of the tower with Enryu? Yeah, again, so I think when they talk about the Thorn fragment and specifically the red Thrysera, I think that the red Thrysera, and the blue monster, as Big Dumbass calls it, because I can't think of a name for it, are all remnants or elements of something outside the tower. And whether that is from irregulars and like because of their contact with administrators, like it sort of offspring and like formed these things, or they are literal tools from the outside of the tower that are taken with an irregular to go into the tower, because by definition these tools are something to combat things like administrators on floors, etc. I do think that the Thorn, the blue monster, and the red Thrysera are all connected, and that they are all elements or remnants of something from outside the tower. What? I don't really know. Do you think it's just Bam, or that the thing inside him we saw in the rice pot? I definitely, sort of leading into my last answer, I definitely think the blue monster plays into this into some capacity. Again, I'm not really sure what, because I don't see any, I guess, obvious connections yet, other than my theory with the red Thrysera and the blue monster. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, again, I mirror a lot of thoughts here. Why do you think Bomb's able to control the Shinsu? Nobody else can. Bomb's built different. That's just literally what it is. He's an irregular, and they don't really give a damn about the rules. And we at this point have not seen Urek actually start fighting Heljo. And although he could only use 1% of his power, I'm curious to see if he's able to use Shinsu, because we haven't. I don't know.
Well, I think it was stated that the only reason that he could use 1% of his power is because he didn't want Garam to notice him or detect him. Now that she knows he's here, I don't really know if he's held by that.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm wondering, now that the cat's out of the bag, if he can use Shinsu, because nobody else can. So if Urek could use Shinsu, then it's like the answer staring me right in the face is that they're irregulars. But if he can't for some reason, then it's not just you're an irregular. There's something else.
I think he can, because I think he, like, that was the other thing with the anklet, is they were like, if you're not wearing this, like, people will know. Like, they'll sense your presence, but they'll know because his power is so great. Sure. Which leads me to believe that, like, if you couldn't use Shinsu, people wouldn't be able to know that anyway.
He also blasts Karaka with that one thing at that one part, and it's like, was that not Shinsu? It seemed like a beam or something that he was shooting at him. So, like, the definition of Shinsu sometimes kind of confuses me with what powers are what, and it's like, anything that's not like a physical attack, now we have spells, but like up to this point, I just figured was something Shinsu related. So I'm just like, okay, I guess that's, you know, he can use it. So that's my answer.
Okay.
That's my answer, Trebek. He's an irregular. But anyway, and then again, I kind of mirror a lot of the things. Do you think the Thorn is something related to the administrator, especially when leading the witness, especially when considering it's from outside of the tower with Enryu? Yeah. I mean, you got me pulling my leg here. Do you think it's just Bomb and that thing inside him we saw in the rice pot? I don't think it's just that. I don't know what it means necessarily by do you think it's just Bomb?
Like, do you think, I don't know. I think it means, do you think that Bomb, like, the reason Bomb can do this is because Bomb's Bomb?
Oh,
or do you
okay.
think it's because of outside or external factors like the blue monster?
Yeah, well, I think the external factors kind of all play into Bomb. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like it can't be just Bomb because they're all part of Bomb, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Now, anyway, that's my answer. So moving on to the next question here, we have Kenshi again says, so spells need divinity, help/contract from a divine being or a spell item to be used in the way they told us how to stop, neutralize, or destroy a spell. What does this all mean relating to the administrators unable to break the spell on the 13 months? Next are questions based on my thoughts, so discuss this one. You read first. You got it. So yeah, I think the fact that they are called upon, the spells that have to call upon a higher power in order to use them, and the fact that the administrators can't break the 13-month series spell is that they have some anti-god thing going on with like the blacksmith who made those kinds of things. Jihad has a lot of inner workings and dealings with the administrators as he's gone up the floors, and he makes those weapons very specific for a very specific reason. So if he's come from outside the tower and say gods are just abound, frolicking everywhere, you know, like Jihad is like, I'm over that, you know, like what I do, I'm not going to have it so these gods are going to be able to tamper and pee all over my parade, you know, when it's like I got everything established here. So I think that that was very intentional. And like, I think they can't break it because when they were made, that was an intention where it's like, we have to spell proof these in some way, shape, or form. My thoughts: 1, the administrators are bad at spells. 2, maybe a being equal to or more powerful exists in the tower, like a boss administrator. Jihad got the help of an outside god. Jihad and the other 12 enchant the materials from the 13 months before stop climbing. And 5, the admin's contract with Jihad have something to do with it. Now that I think about it, could contracts be a type or form of spell? Could be. Yeah, I think there's, you know, if we're talking about certain spells having a trump card over other spells that are more powerful, there could be like a more defensive style spell, a barrier type thing. I defer to that answer, but anyway.
So yeah, I mirror a lot of what you said. I do think it was kind of, you know, in Jihad's, but I've talked a lot about like my running theory here is that once Jihad said like, yo, fuck this shit, I'm not climbing this tower anymore. I'm going to be king of this floor. This floor is the top floor now, and I'm going to run this shit and everything in the tower. That like he had a lot of plans set into place to foolproof that and make sure that like, you know, any sideways nigga couldn't just roll up in here and be like, Jihad, fuck you, fuck this. Like I'm, you know, and we talk about the 13th month series. We talk about the 2 rings of Jihad, or I believe that's what they call them, and spells. I mean, like Jihad is not, from what we know about him, and combined with my theories, Jihad is a resourceful nigga. Jihad is definitely somebody who like knows how to use what's around him to his advantage, and like, you know, will use every possible facet of an avenue of things that he does have at his disposal to cover his tracks as much as humanly possible. So I do think that, you know, this is just another one of many of the things that Jihad has put in place to make sure that, like, you know, if he's here, you can't even get into this room because there's like 9 doors that stop you. Yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
All right, take it away, my friend.
All right, so next question is,
from Catan 237.
Oh yeah,
right?
Okay, yeah. So Catan 237.
First of all, fantastic profile picture.
Oh really? What is that? I can't even.
Clown face.
Oh, maybe it's just this monitor.
It's Dio, actually.
I literally can't even make it out.
It's Dio with clown makeup
and
a nose
really?
and a wig.
That is
great.
dope. All right, he says, what is it that Enryu specifically let the Thorn left... Oh, sorry. Why is it that Enryu specifically left the Thorn for Bomb to use, and is it said that Bomb will use the Thorn to kill King Jihad? But we also know that the people who come from the outside of the tower, i.e. irregulars, can kill Jihad and the 10 family leaders. So why a specific weapon like the Thorn is needed? is it possible that Bomb was born in the tower and is actually considered a resident of the tower, so he cannot nullify the immortality contract, so he needs the Thorn? Because it is not said that once it is... Oh, geez, I'm sorry. Because it is not said that once you leave the tower and return, you are an irregular.
That's a mind fudger of a question.
So it is a mind fudger of a question indeed. And it does... So the running theory in this question, at least, is that the reason Bomb needs the Thorn is because, for all intents and purposes, by textbook definition, he's not an irregular. He is a resident of the tower who is like a, I don't know if you want to call him a pseudo-irregular. I personally don't really believe that. I think that Bomb has gone through way too many feats, that if he's a resident of the tower, he's the luckiest fucking resident of the tower that's ever fucking existed. So I think that, and I do believe they also state that, like, if you're not an irregular, you can't even use the Thorn. Like, you need, like, that's why they wanted to melt Bomb's body with or into and the Thorn, so it could become a weapon that regulars could use, because that's Karaka's whole thing. Karaka's not a regular, so Karaka can't even use the Thorn unless it's melted down into a version or a form that regulars can use. So I do think Bomb is like a full Enryu level regular. However, I think much like, I'm gonna go a little bit outside here. I don't know if you're how familiar you are with Zelda. Like this,
a little bit.
Okay,
take it away.
For anybody out there who does know, Link, being the chosen hero to slay Ganon, needs his trusty weapon, the Master Sword, in order to do it. I think that Bomb being an irregular or Enryu being an irregular is one thing. You are the person that's capable of doing it, but you need your Master Sword. He needs his trusty weapon. He needs the sword that can slay the king, which is the Thorn. And, once again, I believe that, like, that's the fragmenting of it is because, simply put, while Enryu left the Thorn here for Bomb, that's not to say that Bomb could be the only other irregular. Like, we know that irregulars aren't just rolling up into the tower every week, but there really is no way to judge frequency as far as irregulars, right? Like, generally put, like, I think they say, I forget the exact numbers, but they're like, it's every couple of, like, 100 years or whatever. But, who's not to say that an irregular doesn't roll up before Bomb, right? Mm-hmm. Or one doesn't roll up while Bomb's still in the tower. So I think fragmenting the Thorn, even, again, we're talking about Jihad a little bit earlier, is Enryu's insurance. That if any irregular gets their hands on the Thorn, or again, because we know that, like, i.e., the alternate folks plan to melt the Thorn down into something that a regular can use, that just getting a Thorn doesn't mean it's game over for Bomb now. Like, he has a chance because, we've got a Chaos Emerald situation here where, like, shit is spread all over the place. So that's that. So why a specific weapon in Thorn is needed? Is it possible that Bomb's... Yeah, so like I said, I don't really believe that he's... I believe that he is a full-on irregular, so I do believe that, like, just by himself, he can... So actually, okay, I'm gonna
disregard that whole last answer.
Well, so what I was gonna say is I believe that the Thorn is what is needed to kill Jihad and the 10 family leaders, but only an irregular can wield the Thorn. So it's not that the Thorn makes Bomb an irregular, but it's that Bomb, as an irregular, is one of the only people who can wield the Thorn by itself and in its true form. And I actually think now that even if you were to take, like, Bomb's body, let's say, and melt the Thorn with it and make a weapon, it still would not be strong enough to kill Jihad, because I believe the only way to do it is if you use the Thorn in its raw, most powerful form, which only an irregular can do. So I believe that it's not necessarily that the Thorn is helping Bomb by making him an irregular, thereby making him somebody that can kill Jihad, but Bomb, as an irregular, is the only person who can use the Thorn, which is the weapon that can kill Jihad and the 10 family heads.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I have a slightly different theory, but I do mirror some of the things that you say. I think personally, for the irregular question, Bomb, I think, is definitely an irregular, 100%. In terms of the Thorn relationship with him, I draw a lot of parallels actually to what's going on. Ironically enough, to the Bible, in the story of the coming of Jesus, right? So basically, for anyone not familiar, there's plenty of prophets that predict it, but there's one in particular, John, who, like, paves the way, right? He starts telling everyone, it's like, hey, he's coming. You know what I mean? Like this is gonna be a thing. Y'all better be ready for it. Y'all better repent. Y'all do your thing. I relate Enryu to John in that, and I relate Bomb to Jesus in that thing. And again, you could probably pull 38,000 stories that share a similar theme, but that's just the one that comes to my mind. And with that being said, I don't necessarily think that the Thorn is needed to kill Jihad. Like, I don't think it's like you have to have the Thorn in order to do it. Okay. I just think the Thorn is like, if you're going to do it, you know what I mean? Like, this is your best damn shot because this weapon is like ridiculous. And it's more of like, who is worthy to wield it type thing. I think that there potentially could be someone that could kill Jihad or a 10 Great Family Head or something like that if they are that strong. But I think that the Thorn is not just a weapon, it's symbolic, right, of that. And relating another story to it, it's like Bomb being the Christ figure in that, almost relating it to something else now, is like when King Arthur pulls the sword out of the stone. You know what I mean? To be like, okay, the one who's supposed to have this is going to have it. And this sword is going to bring whatever peace and prosperity and knight the king and all that kind of stuff. So I see it as like a thing where it's like, I think that if we were to break down the hypothetical lore of this, or maybe we had a spin-off or some crazy thing that like, maybe like, I think somebody, you know, an irregular could kill Jihad because they break the rules and they don't necessarily need the Thorn. Could be dead wrong on that, but I think the Thorn serves as more of a symbolism type thing, and that it is damn helpful. So, I mean, that's my prediction, but I think that's an interesting question. Was there more to this? No. On that one? That was a big question. Yeah. Okay. Of course, my phone decides to lock itself. Okay. I guess I'll go into the next one then. Okay. So, this one's by Often. Thank you for the question. Often says, thoughts on the 13 months now, how it affects the story, and do you think if Bomb were to ignite two at the same time, would the curses work on him? Also, what do you think the 13th month is called? The 13th month is called. Okay. Didn't they say that was like the monthless or something? Or did they said one was called, oh no, they said it was like called the Gray December or something. I
don't know. Well, I thought it was like the Cold December or something.
Oh,
but I thought
December?
That was one like the 12th. I don't think they name dropped the 13th
I didn't know
one.
if like the 13th one was something where it was like the nameless whatever. Like it was like the color of it, you know, it's like yellow, green, whatever was like some like ambiguous thing. I might have got that messed up with December.
No, I think when they mentioned that one, I think that because like December the 12th month, I think that's like the last one in the line, and then there is a 13th one that's like made up. Obviously.
Maybe I'm getting that mixed up. So, but I'm going to break this question down one at a time here. Thoughts on the 13 months now, how it affects the story, and do you think that if Bomb were to ignite two at the same time, would the curse work on him? I think they have a major impact on the story. We knew that they were going to, but this just fleshes out more information as to the actual impact they have and the motivations behind creating them, and their own motivations being that there are living souls within them. I think it adds an interesting element to this. I almost relate them maybe in a kind of, maybe this is a stretch, but I kind of related Yuri trying to ignite two. If anyone is familiar with the Green Lantern series from DC, where it's like you can't wield two rings at the same time. You know what I mean? It'll tear you apart, and only like certain specific people are supposed to do it. So I kind of relate it to that when I'm thinking about it. So to answer your question, do you think Bomb could do it? Bomb, yeah. I think if anyone's gonna do it, it's him. Personally,
I absolutely think under no circumstance can a person wield two. It would tear them apart. Could Bomb do it? Probably.
Yeah, but also to accompany my point, in the Green Lantern series, guess who's able to wield more than one at some point when he needs to? Hal Jordan, the main protagonist. So I'm like, if someone's gonna do it, it's probably Bomb.
Got that
so
plot armor.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So I mean, whatever. To answer that question. Sorry, I lost my place here. Also, what do you think of the 13 month? I'm not sure. I like I said, I can't remember what. I can't even think.
Make up a name. What do you think it's called?
Bromhemver.
Oh man! All right.
How the hell did they come up with the first names? December, August, like where do they even like? Somebody give me the wiki on that. Where does that all come from? Just add an ember at the end and put a different letter in front. There's no months to start with a B, right? So like, there you go. Yeah, I don't know, Brohemver. Anyway, so that's my guess. Did God SIU just come up with a random word and made it a month? Well, that's what I just did. So I don't know. Treat this part as more of a guessing game rather than a question. You know, could have read that beforehand. Although the chances of you getting it is close to 0, if you guys at least get the color from the 13th month, I'll be impressed. Oh, yeah, the color. But won't confirm. Also, focus on the main question, LMAO. Yeah, with the because he even says duh. The December was colorless. The December is colorless.
Colorless December. Right.
Damn, what rainbow? I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking like Trident Goobember. And it's just this ball of goo that like you whip around, but it's as sharp as a sword, and you can just whip it at people, and if the goo gets on somebody and you rip it off, it like cuts their body parts off, and it's called Trident Googember.
I like that. Bunji Gumbu.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm running, and if it's not that, then we're changing it to that.
Anyway, next question. What do we got?
All right, so
hit me with
the next question.
I think it's the last one, actually.
Yeah, and also just to I do mirror a lot of your thoughts with that last one.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. So I don't really have anything much to add into that. Like, I do think that nobody could do it, but Bomb probably could. So yeah, all right. So we're gonna go to the last question, which is from Fluffy Managuin. Fluffy Managuin 33. Am I saying that? Probably not. Who is your favorite ranker and why?
We already have Isaiah's answer.
It's Yuri. I mean, Yuri's been my waifu from basically from episode 1. But she became my favorite ranker when we saw her fight because I mean, so the only person who I would say is probably tied for that is Lara Rowe, because while we haven't seen him cut loose, I just know that nigga can cut loose, and I know that when he finally gets to cut loose, man, it's got to be cool. But if Lara Rowe is a ranker, Lara Rowe. So okay, I guess if we're talking about rankers, Yuri is technically a high ranker and Lara Rowe's a ranker. So if we're going off that premise, technicalities or whatever, then yeah, I would say Lara Rowe, because I can't really think of any other rankers that have impressed me personally other than Lara Rowe, which is actually very weird because, like I said, we haven't really seen him cut loose, but there's just something about that nigga, bro. He got that he's got that Urek level charisma for me, where he just starts talking and I'm like, yes, do it, kill that nigga, do it, yeah, help Bomb, yeah, get him, and, yeah, I don't know, but I would like to substitute that answer though for Yuri, because I am a Yuri simp, so I have to. I can't not. It would be against my better judgment. What's your answer?
This is actually a tough one because I think about it, and for a couple of reasons, right? Number one, a lot of the characters that I really, love in the story are not rankers yet. It's kind of part of the main crew. So when this question was asked, I was like, wait a minute, I don't have a standout answer to that right away, right? Which kind of made it weird. And I also am one of those people, which the guys goof a lot, but we all enjoy it at our own pace, that it takes a lot for a character to be my favorite, you know what I mean? I could think of surface level reasons, but it's I'd like to have more of a reason than just whatever the surface level reason is. So to answer this question, I'm gonna say who my top 2 contenders are, I think, but that by no means means that I can't change this as we go. Sure, these are very in flux. I'm not rooted in this is my favorite.
Oh, yeah. Dude,
done.
If Lara Rowe gets cuts starts going off and gets his ass whooped frame 1, I'm gonna change my answer. It's not gonna be Lara Rowe anymore because that's not impressive. But until then,
yeah, it's a very loose answer, I guess, is my point. So I would say the quick answer, and the one that a lot of people probably want to hear, is Urek. Right, because he's technically, again, right, high ranker, he's been at the top, so I'm counting him in there. He's just hilarious. He's just great. The guy, for all the reasons that we've seen, I really do like that character a lot, genuinely. And another one actually is Jin Sung Ha. I love as a character. I like him a lot, and I love how Bomb kind of represents mini Jin Sung Ha, in his aesthetic, the way he looks and stuff like that. I like his kind of laid back.
Oh,
what?
I totally forgot about Jin Sung Ha. I would like to change my answer from Lara Rowe to Jin Sung Ha.
Oh, okay,
that nigga's fire.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's dope.
Yeah. But anyway, all the things about him, right? Just his personality, this kind of aloofness where it's but it's you don't want to mess with him because he also murdered his whole family, and you're what? I don't know what to think about this guy. And I just love how much he trusts in Bomb now after being this father figure to him when Bomb really doesn't have one, and it's kind of this weird stepdad role, but he's been able to kind of fill it, and he genuinely cares. And I just like those moments when they're like, he needs to like whip them into shape when they're like trying to run away from him. And he's like, guys, like seriously, like you can't go to the name hunt station or you can't go there. You know what I mean? He's like chasing them around. He's like, but then they get away and you could picture him being like, because realistically, if he really, really wanted to, he could probably find a way. But he's like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, just spit everywhere. They'll figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, they got it. I trust them. Like, what was I thinking? You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I like that, but I like him for all of those reasons wrapped into one. I think he's has a lot of very human elements, but he's like badass at the same time.
Yeah.
And I like him a lot.
One of the things I actually like about him, and I'll throw it in there because I totally forgot about him up until now. Is that like he, like you said, he has this very like protective role and almost like fatherly role when it comes to Bomb. But he's the realist side of that, where it's like, you know, if Bomb is Fug's god, right? He's the one who's got the idealist, attitude, and he's going out to change things and make things for the better. Jin Sung Ha is like the nigga behind him who, anytime somebody tries to back cross Bomb, that he's like, I'm sorry, you were gonna come over here? You want to try that again? You know, like,
don't talk to me or my son ever again.
Exactly, yeah. Like the whole thing when they're going to the floor of death, like you were saying, when Jin Sung tries to stop them, they like outsmart him, and he's like, all right, whatever, have fun, kids. But like, who's the nigga that bails them out when the name hunt station arc ends? He rolls up and pop a money bags is like, give me my kids back, you know? And it's like, so Jin Sung Ha is final answer.
Bam.
That camera's dead.
Have us at the best of us. Anyway, folks, those are all of the remaining questions we had for this week's read through. Again, this covered episodes 243 to 250. For anyone that was curious, I didn't state that in the beginning, but I'm sure a lot of you know that are watching this video. Tune in next week when I lied. Tune in Saturday.
Yes.
This is in the past. So I'm saying this, I'm traveling through time right now because we haven't actually made that post yet, but that post will be made by the time you see this video.
Yes.
Jedi mind tricks. But anyway, so Saturday, tomorrow, make sure you guys are checking out our Tower of God live stream where we will be going over the next slew of chapters, and make sure that you guys are participating in our Discord if you want your questions to be read. Right. Again, this is a experimental format right now, depending on how many questions we get. We can't be here for 3 hours, so maybe we'll just pick X amount or whatever. But if you want to hear your question potentially answered, definitely take part in it. It's fun to answer these, and it's cool to hear your guys' thoughts, and hopefully you enjoy us expounding upon our thoughts in relation to your questions as well. But anyway, folks, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the content today, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, hitting that notification bell, sharing with your friends, and commenting your thoughts down below. What did you think of our answers and discussion today? What did you think of this format? And are you excited for more Tower of God? But until next time, we'll catch you on the flip. Peace.
Peace.
Ninjas are samurais, blaze of the kunais. Find me in the leaf of the cloud, screaming out Bankai. We just some ghouls though, who like seeing parts fly.